Hello again. Today's venture in the kitchen is something that I tried and I actually liked. One of those days where I wanted a little something different, so I finally decided to try a video that I had seen, and it is for some yummy stuffed acorn squash. And it's really simple. I did tweak the original recipe to fit my personal nutrition needs. So I will not be using any breadcrumbs or cheese because I'm cutting the carbs to just the quinoa, which is a complex carb, and it'll go down nicely. And no cheese at all this time because I'm going no dairy. Very simple, very nutritious, and full of flavor. I will be using, of course, the acorn squash, some yummy, spicy Italian sausage, and apple, onions, garlic, and quinoa. As I mentioned before, that's going to be kind of my little filler, which all of that together has great flavor, and then we'll throw in a little bit more seasoning. We'll be good to go. For your acorn squash, you simply cut off both ends, and then you'll split it in the middle to go ahead and get to stuffing. Well, actually, we bake it first. Once you get your ends cut off like so, go ahead and find whatever is the middle, because of course they're not all that symmetrical. We're gonna go right here, which looks like the middle. When you open it up, you do have the seeds, so you'll want to go ahead and scrape out the seeds. Now, once you've taken the seeds and cleaned everything out, which I just realized I cut mine incorrectly, I should have actually cut it this way so then I would have bigger bowls, but that's okay because I still have it deep enough to go ahead and stuff and get some goodness in there. So once you do have it all cleared out like this, we're gonna go ahead and bake these in the oven for about 40 minutes on 400. Mine's fairly small, so I may actually go about 35 and check them for softness at that point and see if I do need to go the full 40 or not. So what we're going to do, we're just going to spray them with a little bit of coconut oil and then a little bit of seasoned salt and pepper, and we'll throw them in the oven. While it's cooking, you want to go ahead and start getting your stuffing together, which for the stuffing is that some onion, apple, which gives it a little bit of sweetness and some more crunch, as well as garlic, and then the Italian sausage. But you can, if you like some other sausage, you're more than welcome to try that. I happened to find this one and thought it would be good. And it really was good. And also, as part of my stuffing, since I am using quinoa, I do have that cooking, so I'll be able to mix that in once we get all of this partially cooked. So then it will have time to cook in a little bit further, and it will really absorb mostly the flavor of the Italian sausage and then a little bit of the onions and everything else as well. So everything does kind of work all together. Get moving with our stuffing. I have put a little coconut oil here in my pan. So I will go ahead and get moving with the onions to have those start cooking first. And again, this is a pretty quick, simple, but very good and nutritious recipe. But the thing that takes the most time, I believe, is actually the chopping. Otherwise, everything is pan or oven, really good, and it's something a bit warming too, especially for like these cold California cold days where we've only been in the 40s and 50s. Onions are cooking. We are going to go ahead and throw in a little bit of seasoning. Again, I'm not really one to measure much of anything. I think I did probably about half of a white onion and then a little under a half of a red onion as well, just to get the sweet balance in there with the onions. Okay, so my onions are looking good. Now I want to go ahead and throw in the sausage to get that cooking. And once the sausage cooks about half, then we can throw in the garlic and from there the apples. Because we don't want the apples to overcook, especially since we're going to bake this after we get the stuffing and the acorn squash semi-cooked. Because while it's baking right now, it's semi-cooked. Once we stuff it, we'll finish cooking those. That our sausage is almost cooked, we're going to go ahead and add in the garlic followed by the quinoa. And if you're worried about there being too much stuffing and not enough of the acorn squash, no worries. There's always a solution for that. You can either stuff something else, or I actually ended up scrambling an egg over the leftovers and called it breakfast. It was really, really good that way. I enjoyed it a lot. Get our garlic incorporated here. And last of all, let's go ahead and add in the quinoa, which I cooked about a half a cup of quinoa. And this time I kept my additives very simple. I only put in a little sea salt, pepper, and rice wine vinegar, just for flavoring in the water. And that was it. Depending on what I cook, when I cook my quinoa, I'll change up the ingredients. If I'm doing something like with tacos or something along those lines, I may use lime with the water as well as cilantro and change up the seasonings just according to what I'm cooking. So for this one, it was just the rice wine vinegar, a little sea salt, pepper, and that was it. Especially because we're going to have so much flavor from the sausage, onions, and everything else that we've incorporated already. That cook a little bit more before we put in the apples, because again, the apples, we don't want them to cook too much on the stovetop since they're going to be baked. And I know I still like that little bit of crunch even after they've been baked. Now that our quinoa has cooked in with the sausage and onions and garlic, we're going to go ahead and add in the apples to let those cook around and add in their flavor for a little while as well. And believe it or not, that's going to be everything for our stuffing. You would be able to add or take away anything that you need to, because again, from the original recipe that I was looking at, there should be breadcrumbs and cheese in here, but it does not follow my nutritional needs right now, so I did go with the quinoa instead of breadcrumbs and just eliminating the cheese altogether. Okay, our apples and sausage and everything else smells great. And it is time now to check on the acorn squash to see how they're progressing here in the oven. It's about 30 minutes. And they do look a little soft to me, so I'm going to take them out just to double check them. And if they're not soft enough, I will put them back in for about 10 more minutes, because it should be 40, but like I said, this one was pretty small. I don't want to overdo it. Yeah, they are rather soft, as you can see. Shouldn't really be touching them because they're hot, but not too bad. They are relatively soft. They're not overly soft yet, but once we go ahead and stuff them and bake them for about another half an hour, they'll be really soft, and I mean, your fork will go in like butter. So let's go ahead and get these stuffed, and we're going to leave the oven at 400 to bake them again for about 20 to 25 minutes with the stuffing. Down as much as you want. Go ahead and throw them back in the oven. And again, like I said, there's extra stuffing, so I will have, and I may pick up another acorn squash and do some more, or maybe even try it in a bell pepper and see how that goes. To check on our stuffed acorn squash and see what we have here. They should be all nice and toasted and soft. Yes, they are. We have a nice little golden brown here on the top, and everything else has softened up. So again, your fork should go through all nice and Get you some good squash going along with your stuffing. Delicious. So if you're looking for a little something different for dinner tonight, or even if you meal prep, this would be a great one. Give you something a little different because you have your protein, complex carb, and veggies. One-stop shopping here. All right, hope you enjoy this as much as I did. Thank you.